Y'all, this book had me in shambles, in tears, and completely gone. Let us talk about it. Hey guys, it's your girl Divorce, student, singer, songwriter, and everything else in between. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about my favorite TV shows, books, and movies. And today we're talking about Sunrise on the Reaping.
Nice shooting, sweetheart.
My God. If you haven't read the book, click off this video, read the book, then come back, because this video is gonna have spoilers. Also, I will also have more analyses coming out very, very soon, so stay tuned because there's things I definitely noticed that Suzanne was trying to point out. But for now, let's just talk about the book itself and just have a general discussion because it is crazy. I am very much emotionally distraught and shook, and I understand why Haymitch is now an alcoholic. I understand. The one thing that I was very worried about in this book is like whether Suzanne, because you know, like when you have a franchise that is really, really big and it's become something of its own, some writers are not able to like maintain it and keep it well. But I think Suzanne really did a good job with like some consistency because I was a little bit worried about that. But the way that she tied things in were good enough that like it doesn't override certain things. I really just enjoyed it as a body of work. I was very scared to see what would come out, but guys, I'm down, and if Suzanne is ready in the next 5 years to drop another book, Queen, I'm here. Because we only know things from either Snow's point of view or Katniss's point of view, and to see it from another point of view in the games and also get like a play-by-play on how things were affecting different people, with especially within District 12, is such a unique point of view, and it was very much necessary. It was needed, and it filled a lot of holes and gaps for me personally in the world of Panem and how it ran and how it worked until we got to Katniss's trilogy. Secondly, a lot of things that people talk about that I found very interesting were the amount of cameos. So at first I was like, oh my gosh, these people are here. Like when they started adding little cameos bit by bit, I was like, hold up, wait a damn minute, everybody's here. And then it got more like when they added Wiris and Mags, y'all, I was gagged. I was like, oh, hello. The cherry on top was adding Effie. Because I was like, you know, the whole time when they're working with Drusilla, who is nasty work, I hate her. When they were working with Drusilla, the whole entire time I thought to myself, oh, I wish Effie was here. Like, if Effie was here, like, this would have been so different. Like, she would have ate. And then lo and behold, Effie shows up and she saves the day. And I love Effie, okay? Is she very much under propaganda and under the Capitol? Yes. But I like that the book didn't shy away from that. And it shows you just how much propaganda works within people in the Capitol and how people just, you know, play off the Hunger Games as it's something it's necessary that needs to be done. And it shows a lot of parallels within other forms of atrocities that people have committed over centuries, right? I mean, even with slavery, for example, some people during slavery, people would just go outside and pretend it was a normal day and they thought this was normal and it was for the greater good. It was not. But, you know, hearing that from Effie as well and knowing that where she will end up, it's so profound to listen to and to hear the ideals that is really forced and shoved down the Capitol's throats as well, and also believed by members of the Capitol. There's something that really, really struck to me was like Drusilla at a certain point, if I'm not mistaken, was talking about how Haymitch could possibly use the angle against the careers, that the careers and, you know, the first two districts, if I'm not mistaken, District 1, District 2, are trying to basically integrate with Capitol members so that they can become Capitol. And Drusilla was like, yeah, you should use that angle against the careers because they will never be Capitol. You can use that against them. And it just really, it shot out to me how, you know, they're right. Like, these people are districts, but because they've been put in a situation where they can slowly sort of kind of benefit more than the other districts, they're going to, first of all, believe that they are better. They're going to believe that they can be Capitol or that they're Capitol adjacent. But the reality is that they're equally victims who are put in these games, but they're just lied to. And the Capitol will never accept them. And isn't that a big ass allegory for how things are running in the world right now? Thank you. Thank you. I will be talking deeper about that in another video about the propaganda if you guys want. So let me know down in the comments below, because I noticed a lot of parallels that Suzanne was trying to really like scream at us. Suzanne was very, very intentional with a lot of the stuff that she was doing this time around. I personally feel she was letting us know that that propaganda is rich and that we cannot escape it. And that's something I really, really enjoyed. And tell me if you guys want that down in the comments below. A couple of things that stuck out to me were the parallels of Haymitch to Katniss. Oh my goodness. Where do we start? Sweetheart? in the original trilogy, I always thought Haymitch calling Katniss sweetheart was just like an arrogance thing, only for me to find out that the only other person he's ever called sweetheart was Lenore Dove. And the fact that Katniss reminds him of Lenore Dove made me cry. Made me absolutely cry. Tears while I was cooking. Because what do you mean? And the goose eggs, Jesus. Because that sent me. That had me. I was like, okay, Suzanne, you win. Also, there's so many parallels of Haymitch and Katniss's life. And again, that's going to probably be my next video. The parallels are too similar. They're too similar. They both have fathers that died in coal mining accidents. They both have moms that were distraught, but except Haymitch's mom worked it differently and actually like really put in a lot of effort. But still, there was still a lot of responsibility on Haymitch versus Katniss's mom was really broken down, and Katniss had to be the sole breadwinner of her family. They both have younger siblings around the same age that are really dependent on them. They both have been involved in rebellious plots, except one of them knew about it and the other one didn't. And unfortunately, I personally think that Haymitch was Katniss before Katniss and was just unlucky and didn't have the right resources and the right backing behind him. And it's painful. Also, speaking about backing, guys, Plutarch, I'm not a fan. Listen to me and listen to me well. Plutarch, I understand he's very instrumental. He understands the power of image and clips and propaganda. And I know he's going to be integral to the books. But the thing is, to the later trilogy. The thing is that really irks me about Plutarch is how he, first of all, uses Haymitch's family in these clips. And I feel like he kind of uses Haymitch as a test dummy. I know that might be a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but the fact that Haymitch was used and then just like low-key kind of left alone to his own devices, no. I don't like Plutarch for that. Never liked him, never did. Don't get me wrong. I think Plutarch is very, very smart. I think he's very, very useful and he knows how to play the game. But at the same time, putting all this responsibility on one child, knowing full well you don't have backing, because these are children, babies. What kind of adult looks at somebody and is like, yeah, like you can break down this whole entire system without thinking of what the consequences would be for that child? I really felt like Haymitch was low-key a test dummy, and it really, really upsets me. And I'm glad that during Katniss's time, they learned their lesson, but it's unfortunate that Haymitch's life had to be destroyed and the people he loved had to be destroyed for this to happen. I also don't like how Plutarch is, because he's from a very privileged position. And when he asks Haymitch, like, why didn't you fight back? It feels, I know this sounds crazy, but it feels as if he's that rich, privileged person that's looking at poor people and he's like, but you had the opportunity to do this. Why didn't you? See, you made a choice. You made a choice to be here and you made a choice to accept your circumstances. Bitch, he didn't, because he didn't want the people who he loved to die. Sorry. And I get what Suzanne is trying to do, but it's really upsetting because Plutarch has grown up in privilege, has never had to starve, and will always be in the capital's good graces until the rebellion. And it's so rich for somebody who is in that privileged position to look at somebody else and be like, oh, but why didn't you? You always had choices. It is so out of touch. And I understand the need to like make people question of why didn't you, but you can see how this affects Haymitch's mind because Haymitch is a young, 16-year-old boy? He's a child. You know who asked that? You can't put the responsibility of ending a rebellion and a system that was made by masterminds, psychopaths, sociopaths, and put all that responsibility on him and expect him to constantly fight back all the time. Like, who are you? I'm not a fan of Plutarch. I'm not. I get it. But I was not a fan of him at all during this book. And it made me just feel more and more for Haymitch. That's another point. Also, it was just lovely to see that Haymitch was a very empathetic person. And unfortunately, just going through so much trauma just put him in a space where like he just drove people away and he went to alcoholism. Because during the games or during the trilogy, I always thought that like Haymitch was like super arrogant and like just like unnecessarily mean and whatever, and then had a better side with Katniss. But honestly, if I was in his position, and girl, I don't think I would be alive. Sorry. Like the amount of trauma and hearing him and his empathy for people and wanting to help like the netty newcomers, but knowing that it wasn't a good idea. Oh my God. I also think that one of the reasons that Haymitch really suffered during this time, and you can really, again, going back to the parallels of him and Katniss, was also the angle in which he had to use. Because remember, Katniss had PETA. Peeta was the saving grace, and I talked about this in my previous video. You guys can watch that, how all the similarities between the District 12 victors would end up bringing Snow's downfall. Peeta, he was the lifeline for Katniss when it came to interviews. This book really shows you how important it was to the rebellion, when it, like, how image and reputation is very important when you're trying to have a rebellion. It's extremely important. And with Peeta and Katniss, having a love angle was something more that a lot of people could relate to, because Haymitch didn't have that opportunity. He didn't have that extra help. First of all, he had a horrible stylist. He had Drusilla, which was just oppression galore. And like the people, you know, the quarter quell didn't even allow for any opportunities like that. But the person who was supposed to be his partner died right in front of him. And I personally think that because he never had that like safety net and that kind of person also looking out for him in that sort of romantic way, it forced him to have to take this rascal rebellious angle. And I now realize why he was so hell-bent when Katniss and Peeta like try to eat the berries. And then I understand why Haymitch was so hell-bent on making sure that Katniss wasn't seen as a rebel but a star-crossed lover. Now it makes sense, because it's a delicate balance. Because see, in, you know, Haymitch's games, everything was edited out, but the people behind the scenes saw everything. But in Katniss's games, her first games, should I say, it was less implied. You see, Haymitch was also a very reactive person, and which is fair, completely fair. He's 16. And he reacted a lot, and he screamed a lot, and he defied the Capitol outright. But Katniss came from a different angle of much more empathy, especially with Rue and the singing. And, you know, that's a moment that also was shown on TV. And those little things make a difference, because Katniss had this more empathetic and in-love angle. And that's why she was able to get away with it publicly more than Haymitch, I personally feel. It was so subtle because she refused to play the game. And I think that is like the main difference in their own characters that shows. And I think it's ironic that Haymitch ended up being Katniss's mentor, because he saw all the angles and he prevented the same thing from happening to her that happened to him. And that's so powerful, and it's so beautiful, and it made me cry. Also, there's a lot of covey talk. I'm not the biggest fan of the covey. I won't lie to you. To me, they're a little bit boring. No shade. No shade. Okay, I've made videos on Lucy Gray before. You guys can check them out. It's just, for me, I didn't really care about that plot line too much. But I like the fact that they, you know, still continued the use of the covey, because when it comes to Katniss's time, we don't really hear much about the covey anymore. And it shows you the erasure of people. The erasure of Lucy Gray was also very interesting. It wasn't like what I was specifically looking for, because for me, I don't need to know where Lucy Gray ended up. Girlie's gone, girlie's gone. I hope she lived an amazing life. I hope she was able to survive if she could. For me, so that wasn't really important, but I like the fact that they showed what would happen with the games. And the fact that none of them know what her name is also horrifying. The fact that like her songs still live on, but her legacy doesn't get shown and edited by the Capitol, which is also part of the propaganda piece that I'll discuss later in another video. I thought that was really powerful. I thought that was really good, because it shows you how people who really have fought the system get erased over time, and to the point where they don't even know what she did or how she survived or how she cheated the games. Like, no one knows. And the fact that District 12 was also left desolate from the beginning, that they don't have a proper stylist, that they don't have proper help. Yes, I get like District 12 has always been impoverished. Don't get me wrong. But I also think that's on purpose, because we know that Snow hates District 12. We know that he's obsessed with District 12. Like, we know he's obsessed with Lucy Gray. He's obsessed with everyone who comes out of District 12. You can't fool me. Okay. And anyone who has like defining characteristics from District 12, oh, Snow hates them. Snow hates them, baby. And I'm not surprised, because I was like, why is everything done so badly in District 12? I think it's on purpose. I think it's on purpose, to the point to make sure that District 12 could be like eradicated. And I think Snow took personal joy in that. Final notes. Shout out to Maysiliee. Love her. Queen. At first I was like a little bit scared of where they were going with this. The minute she started eating the sandwiches with a fork and knife, I said, I love you. And the minute she slapped Drusilla back, I was like, period. Bless her heart. Bless her heart. It really, like, I loved her. And I can't wait to see this on screen, because Maysillee's character was just so defiant in her own way. And of course, all these children deserve better because they're all children. Her twin sister, like, being forever miserable, you know, down to Katniss's time. Oh, God, like, I love how everything was tied into one another. Also, let me not forget Ampert and Beetee. Snow should have died a more torturous death. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Snow should have died a 10,000 times worse death. This little cutie pie, this little 12-year-old, this child is being forced into the games. Girl, during Ampert's scenes, I would cry. Because I know that kid was so cute, was so adorable. He just wanted to be, you know, like a little logical little... Y'all, poor Beetee. And Wiris and Mags, and like, I think Wiris and Mags, because it was implied by Haymitch that they probably got tortured due to the fact that, you know, Haymitch won. And that explains so much, right? But shout out and kudos to Wiris and Mags for being amazing mentors. We cared about the children. That was the most important part to me, because I was very curious to see how it was. They were really like surrogate mothers in those times. They really cared about the kids. They were more logical, but the fact that Haymitch could only cry when he was around something that reminded him of Mags, or around Mags, tears, y'all, tears. Ciao. I don't even want to talk about the deaths because they were so gruesome. I felt this book was very gruesome, kind of like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. When I broke it down in one of my other videos, I recognize how violent, like, you forget how violent the Hunger Games are until it gets described. And for me, I was listening to the book and I would just have to take a break as to the violence and the constant trauma that was just being shoved at you. But it's the reality. It's the reality of what's happening. It's the reality of what's happening to people in Gaza right now. You know, like, and it's uncomfortable, but it makes you realize so much more, you guys. So yeah, you guys will be getting more breakdowns from me, more analyses. Tell me how you guys are feeling down in the comments below, because shambles. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Comment if you guys want me to talk about more things, and I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.